Hi guys, welcome to the Acting Summit. We have a very great session with you. We are with Sharon Jakubecy. She's going to be talking to us all about the Alexander technique. And so first off, Sharon, I just wanted to say thank you for being with us here.
Yeah, thank you. This is really exciting.
And before we get started, can you just tell us about your background? Why did you want to study the Alexander technique and, leading to where you are today?
Definitely. So back in college, I found modern dance and choreography. And I was making dances and performing, and at the same time, just after college, I had a job working with kids with autism. And it was a very stressful job. And my hip and my low back started hurting me chronically. I had chronic pain in my hip and low back, and sometimes I wouldn't be able to dance because of that. And sometimes I would have to even go home from work because I was in so much pain. And a fellow dancer suggested that I try the Alexander technique. And in the first session, all the pain disappeared, and it felt like my body didn't exist. And it was so bizarre because I always had pain, and I was only 25 at the time. And I continued to take Alexander lessons, and my ability to handle stress working with those kids with autism also improved. I wasn't getting as stressed, I wasn't getting as tired. And that's when I realized I really have to share this with the world. And so I found out there was a training school here in LA, and I left where I lived in San Diego and moved to LA to train to be an Alexander teacher.
Awesome, Sharon. That's really exciting. I told you off camera that I was a theater minor and I took an Alexander technique class, and we're going to kind of do a demonstration at the end so like the viewers can see it in action, like kind of like a before and after. So for those of us that don't know, what is the Alexander technique, and what goes into all that kind of stuff?
The Alexander technique was developed by a man named F.M. Alexander, and he was actually living in Australia, and he chronically lost his voice. And doctors would tell him to rest it, and he would rest his voice and then go back to speaking, which he was actually a Shakespearean orator. And as soon as he went back to performing and speaking, he would lose his voice again. So he realized there must be something I'm doing. And this is sort of the beginning of how he created the Alexander technique. So the Alexander technique is a modality that teaches people to be more kinesthetically aware, more body aware. And then it also teaches them to be less reactive to other stimuli and to their own body. And then also teaches them how to release unnecessary habits and unnecessary tension. So they are more upright, more open. Some people might say they have better posture. Their voices become more resonant. A lot of people actually heal neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, hip pain from taking the Alexander technique. So it heightens body awareness and then teaches you how to change habits in your body and release tension.
That's interesting. And I guess you mentioned voice and vocal a couple times. How does the Alexander technique help with the voice? I can see the pain in our body, but how do we you mentioned he lost his voice and he was able to get it back. What goes into that?
Well, especially I think actors really know this, that your voice isn't just a product of your mouth or even your throat. Your voice is a product of your entire instrument, your body. And tension smothers the vibration of your voice. So if you have a postural habit of maybe collapsing or carrying too much tension, it literally interferes with the vibration of your voice. So you might lose your voice might crack. When you get nervous and your body tightens up, you might even have a lower voice. So the Alexander technique helps you recognize that bodily tension that interferes and then teaches you how to release it so the resonance or the vibration of your voice can actually fill the room. And it's so fun to see my clients who maybe they're losing their voice and they let go of tension in the belly or tension in the chest, and all of a sudden their voice just fills the room, and it's so thrilling.
Wow. I don't want you to share all the secrets to the sauce per se, but obviously, this is an acting event. We're talking Alexander technique primarily for the actors, but as you know, I'm sure you have clients in all different realms. What are some some easy or some techniques, if an actor is driving to an audition? Is there any kind of repetition or practices that you can tell us that we can do before we get stressed in our in our audition? What are some kind of easy day-to-day kind of practices that we can put into play?
Well, for many actors, it's very common to get sort of locked in your head and lost in your thoughts. So bringing your attention down into your body, feeling your body, noticing your body, and that helps you recognize habits that you didn't know you had. So if you're driving to an audition and you're sitting in the car and your head's forward and you're, white knuckling the steering wheel, you want to notice that so that you can begin to subtract the tension, release effort. While you're in the car, you can also utilize the seat of the car. So I'm answering this question very specifically, driving to an audition. Really letting your head and your ribs rest back so that the spine has more space, more length, and that the chest and the ribs have more space to move with your breath. And one thing I teach all of my clients, but especially my acting clients, is called the whispered ah. And most Alexander Technique teachers teach it. It sounds like this. The sound is ah, like in father, but it's a whisper. And during this sound, the tongue releases, the jaw releases, the neck muscles release. And what you might also notice is that your shoulders start to drop down away from your ears on that sound. And it restarts the whole respiratory system, but not from a place of effort and tightness, but from a place of release, openness, and flexibility of the ribs, the diaphragm, the tongue, the jaw. So everything's ready for you to use your voice.
That's amazing. I'm so intrigued. So it's kind of like anti-stress in a way, like everything that you teach and like that we're supposed to do. Is that kind of like what the Alexander Technique is? Like if we're so stressful, you mentioned like driving tense is, what, so like if we have like a lot of mental kind of like, stress and like not clarity, is there anything like the Alexander Technique can help us with that? Or is it more kind of like, physical interaction?
It's a very fascinating phenomenon in lessons in the Alexander Technique. If someone comes into a lesson and they're very stressed out about something that's happening someplace else in their life, and then I helped them to draw their attention into their body, noticing their feet, noticing their hips, noticing their ribs, noticing their shoulders, that body awareness really brings them into the present moment. And a lot of the things that are bothering them start to be less stressful. And then when you're in the present moment, you can make conscious choices to let go of some of the responses in your body that are also stressing you out. So you could have, a difficult boss and that person is yelling at you, but you're here in your Alexander lesson, you're noticing your body and slowly, kindly, and gently letting go of the shoulders, letting the ribs move. It changes you emotionally. So while it is a very physical practice, it does have an emotional and a psychological effect.
You mentioned body awareness and a couple of things like, being very in the present being. So like, is there any practices or bits that you can give us? Because like, we're like robotic in our day. Like we just like, wake up, go to work, drive back, and then we're not even being conscious as you mentioned. So like, what are some practices that we can do to like really be in the moment and just because I'm sure like it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to take us like a lifetime to really understand and really give it the time it needs to be like perfect in it.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say let's let go of perfection, especially for actors. Perfection is a trap for actors. It's a trap for everybody, but definitely a trap for actors. So we want to let go of the idea of being perfect. I think more encouraging the sense of getting to know yourself better, which I know so many acting teachers say, know thyself. You know yourself better in Alexander Technique because you understand, when I'm stressed out and I'm heading into an audition, I start to clench my jaw, I start to hold my breath, and then I wonder why I don't feel so present and open in the audition. So I have all of my clients, not just the actors, do a practice called constructive rest, where you lay on your back with your knees bent, your elbows are wide and your hands are on your stomach, and you have a little bit of support underneath your head. In constructive rest, it's also called semi-supine in yoga. Gravity actually helps you to let go of all of that habitual unconscious tension. So your spine starts to lengthen, You start to soften your jaw, your throat opens, chest widens. There's more movement with your ribs and your back, with your breathing. And then once you get up from that, you feel much more relaxed, much calmer, more present, but you've also let go of large amounts of tension and stress in the body.
When you work with your actors, can you talk about how does that process work? Like, is it like a scene study between two people, or like a person's like working on a monologue, or they have like their sides for an audition, and you're just kind of they're saying their lines, and you're kind of like doing the Alexander technique, or is it like, I'm sure like you have a million ways to go about it, but how does that process work?
So in the beginning of lessons, like I'm actually in the process of a workshop for actors right now, and in the first session, it's just bringing the attention into the body, noticing the body more. Because when you are working on a scene with someone else, your body is reacting. Your breath rate is changing, your facial expression is changing. But if you're just completely overwhelmed by tension, you're actually less aware of yourself, less aware of the other person. So in the beginning of sessions with my acting clients, it's heightening, waking up the body awareness, waking up the kinesthetic sense, and then retraining the awareness to have more of a sense of length of the spine and a restful quality of the shoulders and an openness of the ribs. And then from there, after those tools are a little bit more established, body awareness, calming the nervous system, letting go of tension, then we can apply those tools to either monologues or to mock auditions or to scene study. So that's a little bit later on down in the process. One time I had a woman who was actually just doing an interview for an article with me, and we did mock auditions, and I gave her some tools for a real audition that she was going to. And she sent me an email later on and said that she booked a role on True Blood after her one session with me. So it really doesn't take a lot of time and effort and torturous training. Just having the right tools to take care of your body, all the sabotage goes away, all the self-sabotage talking goes away, and you're just coming in open and ready to play.
Wow, I mean, sign me up. I'm just kidding. Like, could you share like a couple of those tools? I'm sure like that could help us. If we have an audition, like that's very powerful. Like what I don't know if you can share like some of the stuff you shared with her.
So definitely, when you're walking into the room, okay, so your mind's going to be thinking about what do they want? Am I going to do it right? Am I going to mess up? All of that is pointless. It's totally useless. So instead, when you're sitting, waiting for them to call your name, you're sitting in your chair and you're feeling your hips in the chair. You're feeling your feet on the floor. So there's a literal grounding. It's not this sort of mystical, esoteric idea of being, I'm spiritually grounded. You are physically grounding yourself with both feet flat on the floor. And then letting your upper body rest back. So most people, when they're waiting like this in the audition room. Your instrument is totally closed off here. So you sit back in the back of the chair and you let breath out. Those whispered ahs I already talked about. Let air come in through your nose. No sniffing. So you don't want to do this. No deep breathing, because that actually interferes and makes you more nervous. So you let your air come in through your nose silently. You're sitting back in the chair so your body's taking up more space. You're literally opening your instrument before you go into the audition. And then while you're walking in, notice your feet on the floor while you're walking in. You're noticing your groundedness, you're noticing your connection to the floor, and that really also helps you to keep in control of your thoughts, sort of going into where they don't need to be going.
This is so powerful. Like I can see, because first impressions are everything in the audition room or like in the room, and the stuff that you're telling us, not everyone is doing. So I think that this can put us ahead of the competition, and just like self-improvement, personal development, like it's good. And I wanted to ask you, like maybe this might be a little off topic, but like what other kind of industries other than acting, can this benefit people in?
Well, I've worked with a lot of directors. So directors have to have a commanding, strong, sort of leading person, body language. So I've worked with a lot of directors. I've worked with a lot of editors who have to sit at a computer, and most of them are sitting at the computer like this for hours and hours and hours and hours. Producers, camera people. I've worked with camera people, especially the people who have to hold the big cameras on their shoulder. They get a lot of hip and low back pain. Lawyers. They also have to have a commanding presence in front of a jury, in front of a judge, and doctors, public speakers. So people who have to basically put on a performance in front of an audience, and the stakes are high. So it's really fun to work with those people who have high stakes, and they walked in, they're like, it wasn't that big of a deal because I wasn't holding my breath. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people are making. They're holding their breath when they're going into a high stakes situation.
That was going to be my next question, so maybe you can elaborate about that. I wanted to ask you, like, what is the biggest mistake that you see actors do when it comes to the Alexander technique, and what kind of implementation can we do, like if it's holding our breath to not hold our breath?
Right. So holding the breath is one of the biggest ones. You have a high stakes situation, you get nervous, and you don't even know you're doing it, and then you start panting. So the whispered ah, once again, if any of the people that have worked with me know that I'm constantly reminding them to let breath out. There are so many benefits to letting breath out. It changes your whole facial expression. So instead of having an uptight look on your face, your whole face softens and opens. The other thing that people do is they will tighten the mouth and the jaw. And so that really communicates, fight or flight. Like, I'm ready to go into battle, I'm ready to run. So once again, the whispered ah really lets the lower jaw drop down, opens up the mouth, the eyes soften. The other mistake that I think is quite surprising is that people will sit up straight or stand up straight. Military posture, they lift their chin, lift their chest, pull their shoulder blades together. But I'm sure as you look at me right now, I don't look comfortable. I look very stiff. And my voice is starting to strain because I cannot breathe. So I'd like to actually eliminate the idea of stand up straight from our cultural lexicon. Let's remove the idea of stand up straight. We want to stand up with length. We want to take up space. We want to be open and like living in our bodies, but stand up straight is a huge mistake for actors.
That's interesting. I was gonna, you mentioned the whispering ah a couple times, and every single time I go to the dentist, like I have such a tight jaw, my lips are so stressed. Yeah. I don't know if it's just that environment or being back. So I wanted to ask you, what are some other kind of techniques? I'm sure there's a million of us that are very stressed, because it's not something we go to the gym and work our jaws. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't know, she sells seashorts by the ocean, whatever, those kind of things. I don't know if that's practice or if that was just stupid what I said, but what are some other ways we can really massage and be stress-free in this area?
Number one is self-awareness. You have to know when you're tightening your jaw and tighten your lips. And the other behavior that comes with that is creating a sort of vacuum in the mouth. So someone will be like this, and it's like they're sucking air, but there's no air coming through the mouth because the mouth is shut. And it looks like that. So number one is really investigate your habit with your jaw and your tongue and your mouth. Then one of my favorite things to do is lip flutter. So I was actually interviewed on NPR. There was a Carmageddon a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. And they thought it was going to be just hellacious. And so they interviewed me as a person to help with stress while people were stuck in traffic for Carmageddon. And so I was on the radio and I was lip fluttering. So you lick your lips. When you lip flutter, you cannot hold your breath. And when you lip flutter, the lips have to release. The masseter muscles on the side of the jaw here, they also release into length. The tongue drops down. You can't actually have a tight tongue and lip flutter. And it also opens the back of the throat. So actors are very interested in having a strong, powerful voice. If your mouth and your tongue and your throat are tight, you're gonna have a strained voice. It's gonna go higher than what you actually want, and you're gonna lose your voice. So lip flutters are very useful. When I'm stuck in LA traffic, I'm often lip fluttering. And also when I'm driving, if I'm driving to a speaking event, I'll let my jaw hang open, almost like I'm a little kid. You know how little babies don't clench their jaw, the jaw just hangs open? I will drive with my jaw hanging, just like this. Humming is actually fantastic too. So if you hum, you start to feel the vibration of your voice in your lips, maybe even in your teeth. You can even start to feel the vibration of your voice in the mask of your face. When you're not driving, you can also hum and feel the vibration of your voice in your sternum and your ribs. And then when you're really open and released, you can feel the hum of your voice when you go into your lower registers down in the back. So humming is also a really great way to prepare for an audition because you're actually feeling the vibration of your voice in your body.
I'm picturing being stuck in LA traffic and then you're like lip fluttering and like humming and then somebody just like, you know, looks at you and like, look at, what is this crazy, you know, lady doing?
I know, I am so much happier than the person driving next to me.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if we are doing what you're saying and we're going to an audition, the next thing you know, we book like, you know, like True Blood or like a show, like it all pays off, who cares, you know, if we look like clowns to like other people. And so, you know, one of my worst nightmares in life is like as I get older, I see like a lot of older people like, you know, they walk back like with a hunch, and like it's just like it's like seriously like my worst nightmare. Yeah. So like in regards to like posture, I know you mentioned a couple things, but like you know I know my posture hasn't really been good this entire talk, but like what can we do to make sure like you know we don't end up like that in like you know 50 years or something?
Take Alexander technique. Move your body. So we need to move. But the one challenge with exercise and movement is there's a lot of emphasis on overworking the core, like core, strengthen the core, strengthen the core. But actually, if you're doing a ton of sit-ups, it pulls you down. So the semi-supine position where you lay on your back, that actually releases a lot of the muscles in the front of the body that are pulling you into a slouch. When you are exercising or when you are sitting in your car, when you are watching TV, notice your body, let your body take up space. I'll even tell my clients, your armpits are wide. So this is like a forbidden area for so many people and they like hide their armpits, but this actually makes you slouch. So allowing the armpits to have width and allowing the chest to be wide is very vital to the uprightness of your posture. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the top of the spine isn't at the back of the neck. The top of the spine is actually in between the ears. And just that little shift in the body maps. You have a map of your body in your brain. It's called a homunculus, and that actually means little man. So we all have a little man or a little woman in our brain, and it's a map of our body. But most of our maps are incorrect. They say that our chest is much narrower than it actually is. They say that at the top of the spine is back here. They say that we're only this tall rather than our full height. So if you want to put your hands, your index fingers in front of the flap of your ear, go ahead and do it. Okay. The top of your spine is actually way up here. Wow. Not at the back of the neck. And this 10-pound weight, your head is a 10-pound weight. The 10-pound weight rests way up here. And there's already a difference in how you're sitting.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, that looks so crazy. Much better.
Oh yeah, wow. Just like that's so interesting because like yeah, I mean you know like, we can talk. I don't mean to get off topic, but like, you know like oh how is like the human able to walk? Like our brain is like you know they were like trying to figure out all that kind of stuff. And cool, Sharon. I know like you're gonna take us through a demonstration, so maybe like you shared a lot of great stuff. Like you know we can implement kind of like on a closing note. Is there maybe something we didn't cover, or like a last piece of advice that you can share with actors when it comes to the Alexander technique that can help them you know get to where they need to be in their career?
Yeah, I would say starting with you know investigating your own habits. Get to know how you move in your body. An Alexander technique teacher will be very useful in that process because with the hands-on guidance, and your viewers will see this in our demonstration, the hands-on guidance really helps to wake up what you're doing in your body. And then from there, rather than, you know, having an idea of perfection or learning Alexander technique perfectly, think of it more as creating more options for yourself. So you're becoming more conscious in your body and making conscious, healthy, expressive options, not only for your body, but for your voice and for your stress levels as well.
That's awesome. And we'll definitely link out, you know, your website, but, you know, for us that want to learn more about you, what you're up to, you know, we want to work with you. Can you tell us like where we can find all that information?
Right. So my website is alexandertechniquela.com. I'm also in Orange County, so that's Alexander Technique OC if you're in Orange County. But you'll find everything there. You can, I have a blog there. I have lots of helpful articles, and you can also contact me through the website.
Cool. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this session with Sharon. She's going to take us through a quick demonstration, so definitely hang out and check that out, and definitely rewatch this video. And, you know, next time you guys are on the car or not even doing anything acting related, you know, we can implement all this stuff into our daily lives. So thanks, Sharon. I definitely look forward to this demonstration.
Definitely. All right, so we're going to do an Alexander Technique demonstration with Shant. I am Sharon Jakubecy Clem, certified Alexander Technique teacher. And one of the most important benefits of Alexander Technique is a heightened body awareness. So Shant, as you're sitting here right now, what are you noticing in your body?
I'm a little forward. My shoulders are kind of like here. I can feel like a little bit in my lower back that, you know, probably is a feeling I shouldn't be feeling.
Yeah.
My leg, I'm on my tippy toes. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of like hunched like in this direction. Like I'm just gonna like fall forward on my nose.
Yeah. And does this feel like work to you?
I mean, it's probably just like, as you mentioned, like a bad habit, natural, like over like the course of my life, I've maybe like done this. So at work, I mean, I don't know. So I don't view it as work, but I'm sure like, you know, it's probably not like the best kind of way to go about it.
So I use my hands-on guidance in Alexander Technique to help you feel your body more. So as I put my hands on your head and neck right here, where do you notice your head is relative to your spine?
I feel like it's coming back closer to it, or because like I feel like my face was forward.
Yeah. So the neck muscles here, the weight of the head is 10 to 12 pounds. So when you're in this shape of the spine, the head is forward of the spine, but then your neck muscles have to work really hard so that you can see out and see other people, look at a computer screen. And then what do you notice across your chest?
It's definitely coming straight. Yeah, I definitely feel like I can see more, like, you know, I'm more, as you mentioned, aware of my surroundings. And yeah, this definitely is like, being more conscious about it too is kind of the way to, you know, probably go about it.
The body, I think, naturally wants to open up. And then right here, I really want to draw your attention to your solar plexus. So your solar plexus is this area that's right below the sternum, and it's the upper abdominal wall. There's literally a bundle of nerves here. What do you notice is that you're doing habitually right here?
I mean, I don't know. I do this like every...
Right. Yeah, and isn't it crazy to not know what you're doing with a part of your body?
It's crazy.
So right here, if I put my hand here, do you feel how you're actually pulling this area in?
Yeah.
And then all of these muscles, the chest muscles and the abdominal muscles, are pulling you down and also pulling on your head and neck. So there's a downward pull through the body. And then I want to bring your attention back up to the top of the spine, in between the ears. So the top of the spine isn't at the back of the neck. The top of the spine is in between the ears. And instead of lifting up or trying to sit up straight, the neck muscles here let go of the back of the head, and your head releases this way. So there's a little bit of a forward release of the back of the neck, and then the whole spine can begin to follow. Your head leads and your body follows. Your head leads and your ribs follow, and I'm going to have you come away from the back of the chair now. Your head leads And your body, your spine moves up towards the ceiling. But I don't want you to lift, and I definitely don't want you to hold your breath. The backs of your ears and the back of your head release away from your shoulders, and your whole spine begins to mobilize in an upward direction. Now, Shant, I want you to practice what I taught everyone in our interview. I want you to let breath out. As breath comes in, you're not going to like breathe in really deeply. Let it come in through your nose quietly and silently. And then as you let breath out, your ribs begin to mobilize. They begin to move. Your spine progressively lengthens. So it's not one quick action. Your head leads, your spine follows. And look at this, you are getting taller. The back of the neck releases, so the neck doesn't have to work hard. It's very different than military posture. As you let go of breath, the shoulders soften. Look at that. Your head leads, your body follows, and what's different right here, that solar plexus area?
Yeah, it's definitely not coming in, like as you mentioned. Wow. This is
and
crazy.
Then let breath out. Your ribs are mobile now, so your back can start to move with your breath. Your ribs move. What has changed in your body language right now?
Everything. Everything. I feel like more like, like empowered in the room. Just, like more comfortable and just like more of my surroundings.
You're literally taking up more space, and your sternum lightly floats, so you're not lifting it like military posture. And then let both feet come flat on the floor. So here you're actually ready, you're taking up space. Now you're actually ready to move, where before when you're pulled down, the brakes are all on. So your head leads, your spine follows, and it's easier to breathe. You're taller, you look more confident, and there's going to be more of an awareness and an expressiveness through your body language.
Definitely, and I also feel like, it's not like military kind of like uncomfortable, like it's just like natural, like if like casting director walks into the room, like, they're like, like, oh, who's that guy or girl, whatever. Yeah,
I love for actors the idea of taking up space. But it's not this false idea of like some macho guy muscling. It is very released, very open, very calm, very centered. And now as an actor, something can happen to you. You're ready for your, scene partner to like look at you at that way, have their voice sound different, and it does something to you now.
It makes it more theatrical.
Yeah.
It makes life more exciting.
Definitely.
Cool. I know this was like a very basic kind of demonstration, and thank you for showing that. And guys, I hope you can rewind and see my posture before and after, like just in a couple minutes. It's just crazy. Like I just feel like even like in my voice, like I feel it's like it's like better. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed that, and definitely check out Sharon at her website. And again, thank you for being with us.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.